Happy New Year and welcome to episode 27 of the Non-Fungibles podcast. I'm Luke.
And I am George.
And today we put Jigsaw from the project Seen Haus into the hot seat and give him a bit of a grilling. Seen Haus is a very new project taking on the task of pairing the digital and the physical with their new auction house. We get down into the details and explore the whole concept, and we think it was a very interesting chat. We'd love to know what you think about it, so tweet us afterwards and let us know. In other news, the Gerbil of Wall Street is coming very soon. We are going to announce the winner and read out some entries in the next episode, which is happening in 2 weeks' time. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, please enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Non-Fungibles podcast, the show about digitally scarce gerbils, non-fungible assets, and the growing decentralized economy.
Okay, great. We've got Jigsaw from Seen Haus. You might have to correct me if I'm saying that wrong. Welcome to the podcast.
All right. Thank you for having me. Yes, Seen Haus is the correct pronunciation. So you got it right there.
Fantastic. You guys are a pretty new project and doing some interesting things. We thought it'd be great to get you on and have a chat. Maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about your background and what you're doing now.
Sure. So my background is mainly in just the traditional startup world. So worked for both big and small tech companies. I think that what's actually interesting is that a previous guest on the podcast, your podcast, actually introduced me to crypto about 5 or 6 years ago. So I won't say which one. I'll dox myself if I do, but he was telling me about Ethereum back in 2015, and I had no idea what he was talking about. Obviously, it was only at $1 at the time, and obviously a huge mistake not listening to him. But that was kind of my first foray into the crypto world. And then I had always kind of dabbled in it on the side while working at other tech companies. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, started doing a little newsletter for Yearn called Wi-Fi Pulse. And then that ultimately led to my involvement in Seen, mainly in the operations department, helping run things in the back end.
Oh, awesome. So what is Seen? What's the premise behind it?
Yeah, so we are building the tangible digital auction house of the future. So everything that we auction on the platform, all the physical items, whether it's art, whether it's sneakers, whether it's merchandise, it's paired with a digital representation in the form of an NFT, and then everything's linked together by a QR code. So there's a QR code on the physical product, there's a QR code on the NFT, and then there's also a QR code on the certificate of authenticity that we give out as well with each auction item. So you could tell exactly who owns it, and you secure everything that way right on the blockchain.
Okay. So how long have you been working on the project, and what does the timeline look like so far?
Yeah, so it's been about 3 months, I would say. So 3 months, we started off with our own items. So we have our lead designer, Buddy Art. He was primarily doing cards. He was doing posters, a few other things. We were auctioning them on the platform. And now we've transitioned into working with real world artists. So Bust Art was the first real world artist we had on the platform. And then we have an artist going live today. His name is Penny. He does hand-drawn stencils. So he does stencils on dollar bills, on euros, on different banknotes. Really cool. And then we have a full slate of artists lined up for this month as well. So now we've transitioned from doing Seen-branded merchandise and auctions to actual bringing these real-world artists onto the platform as well.
Is that a goal for you guys then, like bringing in people from outside of the NFT space? And
correct.
How did you find Penny?
Yeah, so a few members of our team, they come from the traditional art world. So they have relationships with various gallery owners, with various artists. And as you could imagine, during these times where COVID has prevented people from attending exhibitions, from actually getting out to the galleries, these artists are looking for eyeballs. They're looking for new ways to get in front of their own audiences, different audiences. So they're all on board with transitioning into the crypto world, getting into NFTs, doing auctions on the blockchain. So it's been really cool. It's definitely been an interesting experience getting them all situated and onboarded into the blockchain space.
Yeah, amazing. It's a super interesting area, that the sort of hybrid approach from the physical and to the chain. It's actually an area that I myself have looked into quite extensively. But back in probably 2016, I was looking at a project that was trying to authenticate physical pieces of artwork and putting that on the chain, and spent a lot of time looking at how you could create a link between the physical and the blockchain that was robust. I guess, I mean, because we were looking at potentially very valuable works of art, and if you could just take a sticker off and put another sticker on, or there's lots of different ways that you could potentially game something like this. It would be really interesting just to dive into a little bit about how the QR code works and what kind of interface people have in order to check things, and give us a bit of detail on how that works.
Yeah, so the QR code it's embedded in the NFT, number one. So I think I had shared with Luke yesterday the actual NFT that they're releasing today with the penny auction. And then you have the QR code that does exist kind of on the painting as well. It's on the back of the painting. And then on the certificate of authenticity, you have the same QR code right there. So you have all three, boom, 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 and then they're all linked. Again, every time you scan it, it goes directly to the NFT. And then the NFT is obviously ID'd to the person who had purchased it on the Seen Haus platform.
Okay, and you just do that with your usual sort of QR code reader on your phone?
Correct, exactly.
Cool. Okay, so the QR code is embedded in the NFT. If you would, I mean, does that? I guess that works with most physical items in the sense that you could print it on a hoodie, or if you were doing clothing, or you could put it on a label in a sort of the underside pair of trainers, or that kind of thing. So okay.
Yeah, so we did a merch drop like right when we started, about in October, I believe. And I think we did 25 hoodies, and they sold out in like 4 minutes. And all of the hoodies had the QR code. It was on the back, like underneath the hood, so printed on the actual sweatshirt. And then we did have one on the swing tags as well. And then, as you can imagine, some people are like, hey, we love the hoodies. We'd rather do them without kind of a QR code on it. And then others are all about it, obviously. I mean, they sold out so quick. So some people really get off on the kind of linking everything together. So they're willing to have kind of the fashion statement, I guess, of a QR code on the backs.
Yeah, sure. It's making physical items scarce. As long as those links are robust, then, and the group as a whole understand how the system works, I guess things get a little interesting when people start trying to trade these items. Because you actually have to kind of physically send something, I'd imagine. Like if I buy the token, I then need to wait for the sweatshirt to arrive from the person who I've bought. How is there a secondary market to something like this? How do you see that working?
People are trading. People have traded, again, the NFTs, for example. So let's say the founder's hoodie, the way that we did it was, that was the first hoodie that we dropped, and we said, hey, you buy this NFT can be redeemed for a hoodie at a later date. And there was some secondary market trading at first on OpenSea, and then we ended up opening the window, and then from there we said, hey, you need to claim it by October 31st, let's say, or else you have 48 hours from there. If you don't claim it, then you lose the opportunity essentially to buy it, and that NFT essentially is just not able to redeem anything.
Yeah, that's super interesting. But you could in theory keep it just keep the promise of the hoodie forever, no? And they can just buy and people can just trade the access to the hoodie.
Yes. The difficult part with doing it that way is that with the hoodies, right? We had like 25, for example. So if we just left it open forever, then we would be ordering them kind of one off.
As you go.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult with the manufacturer. And again, it wasn't like just your typical like drop shipping hoodies. Like we had one of our team members who used to work for a big fashion label over in Australia. He had been in contact with the manufacturer down there, and they did them like pretty special for us. So just doing like a one-off, if like, hey, all right, today we need a medium, next week we need a large, like they'd be like, guys, like this is not how we kind of run things. So that was the issue that we ran in with there. We had to figure out a way to do it where we had to close the window in a certain time frame, or else the logistics of the actual hoodies would have been complicated. And again, those are like just some of the challenges as we're trying to merge these two worlds. You run into these weird little unique issues here and there, but
worth surmounting, right? I mean, there's an interesting example that springs to my mind. There's a very famous wine merchant in the UK that has a warehouse that is, I mean, it's got billions of pounds worth of wine in, literally. And how it works is you buy something and they just basically shift the ledger as to who owns what wine. Nothing actually ever leaves the warehouse. It's just you're effectively just changing the name on who owns the wine. And it's very clever, and one gets the sense, okay, it's early days, right? But you could, in theory, actually just actually have the physical items and allow people to trade them, but
sure.
You'd have to just store them in a particular way, so that, and you're effectively changing the label, say this doesn't belong to Luke anymore, it belongs to George because he's spent.
Yeah, I guess the best way to take that up with something like, again, using like a hoodie as an example, you'd have to be like, all right, we're gonna have 5 smalls, 5 mediums, 5 larges, and then you just order those from the manufacturer, and they kind of sit in the Seen warehouse, let's say, and then they would just change names as they were kind of traded amongst everyone. But you'd have to order them ahead of time and then just be set on those size limits. Just like with the wine, you'd be set on which types of wine they are, like the red, white, and whatnot.
I guess one of the biggest advantages of doing something like that is you would maintain value of the token, because presumably once someone's claimed the token, there's no real way of guaranteeing that the hoodie is not counterfeit, because it's just a QR code which is easily copyable. So kind of, I suppose you could leave the closing of claiming till far in the distance, or have some way of trading them, or is that just not one of the things that you particularly look at, and it's more a claim on an item on a short-term time period, and then
I think that it's, and again, we've kind of done this experiment, and various things have played out, right? We expected a trading market to kind of appear after the founders hoodies, and it did for a bit. Again, like you mentioned though, until the window closed, and then people kind of lose interest a little bit, right? So it's definitely been more so about just the claim in general. I think that's what we've been more concerned about, not necessarily creating the trading market just yet. And then especially when it comes to some of the items that we auctioned. So we did the same thing actually with a figurine. So it's this, and I got to send you guys some pictures because it's really cool. It's a blue Kirby figurine, and it was the same thing where it was you buy the NFT and then you redeem it for the figurine as well. And once people are starting to see it, because it's pretty big. It's like a little statue that goes on your desk. Once people are seeing it, they're like, all right, I want to trade for that. Like, is it still available? This and that. So you could have seen a market pop up for that specific NFT if the owner, whoever had won the auction, if he decided to list it before he claimed the actual figurine itself.
Yeah, that reminds me of a project called Crypto Kaiju. Have you come across those guys?
No, I haven't.
They're interesting. They started about a year and a half ago.
2 years, I think, probably by now.
2 years producing figurines with NFT sorry, not NFT, NFC chips in the foot of these figurines. They're kind of like vinyl Bitcoin creatures, like little monsters with like like a Bitcoin in their mouths. Or they did a run of crypto kitties, I think, as well. And they're physical items. They arrive in the post, and that you scan the NFC chip on the foot, and that kind of connects it to the chain. I wonder if NFC technology might also play into some of this. You could get labels with NFC things on them and stuff. There's probably lots of room for maneuver there, I imagine.
Definitely. That's interesting. Yeah, I got to check them out.
I think they did quite a bit of research trying to find an NFC chip that wasn't rewritable, and so to try and preserve the sort of or make it more difficult for them to be counterfeited. And for them, that was a big point that they were trying to solve, or a difficult problem to solve, which is how do you with the digital token you can confirm that it's genuine very easly. When you have a physical item, it's very difficult. And so when you've got a pairing of a digital and a physical item, how do you go about confirming that one is the other and protecting that connection?
Definitely. Yeah, that's definitely a concern that we have heard kind of across the board from various community members. And again, I think that what we've done so far, if you even look on our Twitter page, we did a wheat paste campaign across New York City where we put up a bunch of posters for one of our blockchain auctions, and we had the QR code even embedded in there, right? So I think that we've done a good job at securing all of that and getting kind of the linkages down. And the people who have purchased items off the platform have been super pleased as well with the kind of level of professionalism that's been done in the work, and just the peace of mind that they have knowing that, hey, this is the real thing. It's all linked, it all works, and there's been no cause for concern thus far.
Could you tell us about your so another aspect of the Seen Haus, I suppose, protocol? You have a token called Seen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us about that?
Yeah. So right now, the mission that we're trying to accomplish here, we're looking to become a decentralized version of Sotheby's, right? So this is going to be a community-owned project where it's governed by the holders of the Seen token. So what we've done so far, as a few examples, they've voted on things like the colors of the swing tags of the hoodies that we launched. They'll be able to vote on which artists are going to be featured on the platform. They could vote on potentially what cut of the various auctions should go back to the Seen community. So the move and what we're looking to transition to is just giving the protocol to the community and allowing them to govern the platform from there in all different aspects of what you could imagine an auction house that's become fully decentralized would do.
Okay, so nice. So they get to have an influence on the direction of what's being released and how things are being designed as well.
Exactly. So I think that a majority of the community, they come from the Rarible, the OpenSea worlds, and there's a lot of really, really bright artistic minds in there. So they definitely get off on the idea of governing kind of a future version of Sotheby's, if you will. And what we released it this week. It's going to be live on the site coming soon. We're calling it our launch pad. So it's not just that we're looking for established artists, but now we want kind of newer artists as well to also start putting out some auctions on Seen. So the artist that we selected for the first one, his name is Sushi Nobi. He's actually working with A Lot of Money, who was one of your previous guests on the show here. They're going to be doing an auction together. So the Seen holders can also start to vote on that stuff as well. Like who are going to be our new artists? Who do we want to feature this week? And I think it's really good because Rarible, OpenSea are great starter points, but there's a lot of noise there. So it's hard for these newer artists to get noticed. So I think this is going to be a really nice platform for some of the newer guys to get their names out there in the NFT space. And then also, there's a lot that are looking to combine them as well. So Sushinobi is going to do a wood carving, I believe, of a lot of money card, and I think that's going to be a really good one.
So it's curated then. You will be selecting who's coming on and who to release.
Yeah, so I think at first, maybe the first handful we will select, and then from there, we will eventually, it'll transition into, maybe we'll weed out, hey, here's the top 5, the community votes on the rest, and then you keep moving more and more towards giving the community a bigger say, and then ultimately the full say in what's going on. But I think that it's good for us to kind of prove out, hey, this works, and then you allow them to fully take over after that.
And what about the distribution of tokens currently? What's the maximum supply going to be? Is there a cap on it? How much does the team retain? What's going out to the community? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so there are 1 million in total, and then there are, in terms of the team, I think we have 125,000, I believe, allocated to 6 members of the team, and those vest after 6 months. So we get 50% after 6 months, and then they're dripped out afterwards, small percentage each month afterwards. So the team hasn't received any tokens yet. The rest, again, is up for the community to have for themselves. Yep.
Okay. Does any of that go towards marketing or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have we have the treasury right now where the funds, typically what we've been using them for thus far, are either acquiring new pieces, contracting people to do web design, NFT design. There's definitely going to be some marketing that we are going to be allocating funds towards. I think the marketing approach we're more so looking to take is hiring maybe writers as opposed to doing any sort of ad campaigns at the time, and more so writers who could write on thought leadership and things of that nature. Definitely want to do some ad campaigns. We have an auction later this month. We have a very rare pair of Air Jordans. So Jay-Z is actually one of the only people in the world that owns this pair of sneakers, and we're going to be auctioning that on the platform. We got an NFT designer who did work for Adidas doing the NFT. He's got the storyboard. He's already working on it. And then what we'd like to do is get the attention of Hypebeast, Kicks on Fire, those types of players. So I think that allocating some marketing funds to that would be a smart move. So I think the wheat paste campaign is a good example of the type of marketing that we want to do. Again, that was putting up a bunch of posters in New York City. So it's all about blending the physical and digital. There's a lot of good work being done kind of in cyberspace, but we want to make it real as well. And that's why we're going to galleries, we're making real relationships, we're doing things in the real world as well as building things online.
And so give us a sense of what the Seen Haus business model is.
Sure. So mainly focused on the auctions, number one. So that is auctioning at first it was the Seen branded collector's cards and posters. So that was number one. And then it's working with third-party artists and getting them onboarded onto the platform. And then there are also the merch drops that we've done. So you have your auctions, you have your merch drops, and then you have the launchpad artists that I mentioned. So that would be a third, again, falling in the auction realm. And those are primarily the 3 that we're starting with right now. There may be more opportunities in the future, and then you also have the collectibles that fall under the auction category as well. So acquiring collectibles and then auctioning them on the platform. So it's mainly revolving around the auctions. The merch is a secondary, and then we'll take it from there as time goes on.
So do you, as the sort of, does the DAO take a percentage of sales, or does
Correct.
the team? Yeah, okay. So that just goes into a pot and is managed by the Seen token holders.
Exactly.
Okay, that's super interesting.
So the artist again the artist determines, like they'll come to us and say, hey, we're going to take 70%, and then the multi-sig will receive the rest of that. So the multi-sig will receive the the 30%, let's say, left over, and then that could be distributed as the scene holders see fit.
How did the logo get made? I love the logo, by the way. I think
Oh yeah,
the E in the middle is so cool.
yeah. So Buddy Art, Jigglybuff, those are two of our team members. They come from the art world. They're really really good at the design. They had come up with that one themselves. They're very talented guys. So all of the kind of marketing material we put together, all of the brand assets that we have, that's all done in house by those guys.
I love it. I think it's got a really good feel to it, and there's quite a lot you can do. I'm looking at one of your hoodies at the moment, and you've taken the logo and you've got the 3 stripes on the arm, and then the logo on the front. It's cool.
Yeah, they put together some good stuff. I like the teaser videos that they do are really good. I think it's cool the way they put the music behind the gifs that they create. I think that's really cool as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of our in-house creative team. I think that's a huge differentiator for us and allows us to do a lot of cool things. And they also have the relationships with these galleries and artists as well. So that's been a big edge for us too, because we have this huge pipeline filled up right now of all these artists who are dying to get on the platform to learn more about Bitcoin and ETH and just get onto the blockchain, start putting out NFTs that go along with their work. So it's really cool, and there's a huge amount of pent up demand for these artists who are dying to get out there.
Yeah, it's a whole new world for them, and there's a hungry market here for stuff that's fun and original and cool. I love the hoodie. I think it's awesome. I now want one. Oh well. I'll have to give someone an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah, well, I think that with the merch, for example, we do everything. Everything is run on top of Ethereum. So the auctions themselves, they're you bid in ETH, and then if you get outbid, your ETH gets sent back to you. So the auction contracts live on Ethereum, as well as the hoodie drops too. So it's not like we just took people's credit card information. Everything was done on chain.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely something unique that we did as well, and presented its own kind of logistical challenges when you're trying to do all that stuff on the back end when it came to the hoodie drops. So we may transition in the future to just having kind of a merch store up where you could go on, you could buy traditionally, maybe you still use ETH, but could make it a little bit easier for people to get it, because a lot of people want hoodies, a lot of people want kind of the merchandise. So we may open something like that up.
Yeah, that makes sense, and people don't have to fight with the gas fees.
Exactly. The gas fees are actually insane right now.
We've been close to a few projects that have got online auction not online, sorry, on-chain auction mechanisms, and some really innovative sort of architectures, but they're all sort of slightly in stasis mode at the moment because you it's like $100 to spark the contract, and I think everyone's kind of just waiting for the next evolution of this Ethereum to really get these innovative auction type contracts moving, because there's so many cool things you can do with this programmable money
Sure.
in the world of auctions and stuff. But it looks great. It's got a lovely feel to it. It's a very the website and everything. So yeah, congrats on that.
Thank you.
It looks really interesting.
Yeah, we have an auction going live today, and I think the dev team was like, hey, the contracts, this is going to be super expensive to launch the contracts, to mint the NFTs. So we'll see how that affects the actual auction participation as well, because it's just a fact of the matter, right? The gas fees are actually insane right now.
Yeah, and if you are selling things that are obviously still very well priced or high priced, it just gives people pause for thought, and the lower the price of the item that's selling, the harder it becomes, right? Because you end up paying $20 in gas fees for something that's worth $50. It's it begins to get very difficult. But I think it's I don't know how long it'll be, but it does feel like a temporary issue, and these things will get sorted out, and we'll see when we end up.
Definitely.
Cool. So we had one question from our community, actually, which was from Carla McJ. She said that one of the good things about trading NFTs is that you don't have to reveal your identity. Do you think that it reduces your market having to take an address for someone and send them something? Is there any kind of way around that? And what sort of stuff do you store in terms of customer databases and things like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that it definitely has reduced. People are skeptical, right? Because the whole thing is you're trying to protect your identity and trying to remain somewhat anon, right? So when you buy NFTs, as you said, you could just get them shipped to you on your computer, no big deal. But when you do put in this physical aspect of it, people are definitely a little bit more skeptical. So the way that we've done it, at first we were doing it pretty manually, where the auction ended, you would put in your Telegram handle, and then we would coordinate it there. Again, just whatever way made the buyer feel safe. And now we've transitioned into, after the auction ends, you're going to enter in your contact information, and then once it ships out, we're not going to store anything. We're going to get rid of it after that, but it's just to make this process more seamless. I think the best way to do it was to have that shipping information that you enter in on the site, because again, the process of doing it manually through Telegram was pretty cumbersome. That was some feedback that we had from the community, from people who had purchased. But again, we try to keep it as that's a huge priority for us. So we're obviously aware of the Ledger hack, for example, where they had all that customer information on the site. So we're not trying to do anything like that. We don't even have Google Analytics set up on the site, for example, to track any sort of web traffic. It's just, hey, you submit the information, you have your physical address there. Once we ship it out, we kind of get rid of it, and we're not going to store anything in the database there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those considerations, and one of the other community members said that they have, and I won't name them, they have set up a PO box to retrieve things and actually use a business name to do that.
Some people have done that. Yeah, some people have done that. Some people don't put their, they may put their first initial. They use PO box. I've seen PO boxes a few times, so that's definitely a good strategy there. And yeah, for the hoodies, for example, I've definitely seen a few PO boxes. So that's an approach that you could take as well. I think everyone's just super paranoid again with the kind of the Ledger hack and whatnot. And again, we're not. It's voluntary. So when you're participating in the auction or doing the hoodie, then you are, again, you're pinning temporarily your ETH address with your physical address, and maybe you use one of your alternative ETH addresses. So I think there's a number of ways that you could kind of take it in your own hands to personally secure yourself. And then, we're doing everything on our part to make sure that we're not exposing ourselves to any sort of Ledger scenario.
Cool. Yeah, that makes total sense. Isn't it great when experiments turn out to be cool?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's what's so wonderful about this space, right? You get to experiment in and the barrier to entry to experimentation is so low, but the technology that we're experimenting with is so powerful. It's a great situation to be in.
Much better than my drop shipping and my Amazon FBA experiments. So,
well, that's what makes the space grow, right? It's that special kind of recipe of incredible tech and low barrier to entry that produces this explosion of innovation. And we push out in lots of different directions as a NFT community, and the physical joining the NFT world is one of the areas that needs to be pushed into. And like I say, kudos to the Crypto Kaiju guys for stepping into that space. But there's going to be so many that come in, because we understand how amazing NFTs are, but there's also a space for this physical, and it's even better, right? It's like I've got the token and I've got the hoodie.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
all credit to you guys for stepping into this particular realm and making it happen. Very
Definitely.
exciting.
Definitely. Yeah, I think at the end of like the NFTs are great. There's still people out there who don't get it. Like they want to see that painting on the wall. They want to hold the physical trading card. And I think that what's actually interesting, what we've noticed is we don't have people necessarily buying the art because they're like, all right, I think this is going to be worth 10x in a few years. Maybe they have some crypto gains. I'm not sure really what it is, but they want nice art, nice decoration for their apartment, for their houses. They want to get past like hanging up the sports posters and maybe like their high school football jerseys. They want to kind of clean it up a bit and then put some nice decor in there. So the people that we see actually winning these auctions, they're looking to kind of build their own collection, put it around the house, show it off a bit. So that's been cool as well. So I think that the physical definitely plays a huge role, not just in kind of the older generation, but people kind of in their 20s, 30s, they want to up their art game as well.
Yeah, I remember seeing just after the Beeple drop, which was, of course, an artwork with a physical NFT, a digital frame that came with it, and that made it added to the desirability of it, and a really
100%.
special box and loads of extra goodies and stuff that you get with it, as well as live opening with the artist, which is so cool. Um, there was a poll on Twitter, and I'm sorry I can't remember whose poll it was, but there was a lot of interest in NFT plus physical item, and I always thought that my favorite way of doing it is to have a physical artwork with an AR layer on your phone that you can bring it to life with, rather than having digital frames that have to be plugged in all over the house.
Yeah. Yeah, we've thought about that as well. Like, how do you? Is there a way? And I know that the People Drop did it with the NFT kind of living on a digital sort of frame. So I think that's someone's going to do that, and People's looked great, but I think there's going to be a huge opportunity when someone really nails it, like the NFT that kind of lives on your wall. I saw one I think that updates, like the artist updates it over time, and the NFT updates on the wall. So that's really cool. But I think that you're definitely going to see that kind of pop up more and more. It's going to be a true kind of blending of the physical and digital that way, because it's going to be an NFT that's literally in the painting, and it's like the Harry Potter picture in Harry Potter that just kind of like move, right? It's going to be something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's getting that feeling of it being in your house. I've got one up in mine, and I just love holding my phone up, and it blows people's minds when they come around as well. I think that whole AR thing is not generally widely known yet, so it's a real novelty.
No, yeah.
I have to ask. Sorry, it sounds like I'm grilling you. What do you do for metadata of the NFT and the image? So where do you keep it stored?
Oh, it's on OpenSea. I mean, that's where we kind of push everything out to. It's minted and then pushed out to OpenSea, and that's kind of where our like repository is.
And is that IPFS? Did you specify with them IPFS, or I don't know how they do it as a standard, or whether it's just on their servers.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I know, for example, they're MP4s that we mint. Not sure if that's what you're asking in that regard. But typically, the design team, they'll create the MP4 and then we'll push them out. They'll be minted and then sent out, and then they live on OpenSea until they are auctioned off, and then they're automatically sent to the buyer after that.
So, do you use OpenSea to create your contract? Did you?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's that whole debate about creating robust NFTs that are going to last, and the whole, because at first it was a lot of NFTs were just stored on an Amazon server somewhere, and then obviously the push for IPFS as a more resilient storage mechanism, but still not permanent, because if no one's seeding it, it can go away. And then Arweave, of course, being a push at a permanent version. Yeah, it's one of the things that I think that a lot of people think about, and I think more and more people are thinking about now. So moving on to the crypto space in general, what do you make of the massive price rises recently?
Crazy stuff. I mean, you got my dad yelling at me because I don't have his Coinbase account set up. You got my little brother, like I gave him 1 ETH a few weeks ago. Now he thinks he's rich. He's all about the NBA Top Shot. That's what he's been kind of messing around with lately. My grandma said she was going to get me 2 Bitcoins for Christmas, and then she realized kind of what the price was, and and obviously realized that wasn't the best idea. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I think that all of us kind of knew that this day would come. I remember a few years ago just kind of refreshing the price every day and being like, come on, like do something, like move. Like it was just stuck in the doldrums for so long, and now we're kind of here, and it feels it's crazy that it's finally back. And then when it gets like this, so you're just like, how much longer is it going to last? You're just kind of waiting for it all to, like, the bull run to kind of come to a close. But it's been awesome to finally kind of be back where we were back in 2017.
Do you have any predictions for 2021?
I mean, I would say that Bitcoin, ETH. I think if I could make one prediction, I think ETH would bet kind of the house on ETH blowing past the all-time high. I think that's kind of a given at this point. That's the only thing I would say with 100% certainty. I'm curious to kind of see if there's going to be that big rotation from Bitcoin and ETH back into the DeFi alts, and I'm really curious to see if DeFi catches momentum with the same type of people who were kind of buying Litecoin and XRP and Bitcoin Cash towards the tail end of 2017, because I have a lot of friends from home who are still kind of they're caught up in kind of the coins of 2017. So I wonder if we'll see more of retail kind of get involved in that way as well, because that would be great.
Cool. Well, it's been great having you on. Thanks for coming and chatting to us.
Yeah, man. Appreciate both of your time. Yeah, looking forward to checking back in a few months as we kind of continue to make progress here, and hopefully you guys participate in some of the auctions, get some nice merchandise, and yeah, looking forward to reconnecting in the future.
Yeah, awesome. And where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm at Jigsaw01 on Twitter, and then you could just go to @Seen_Haus on Twitter as well, and that's where we kind of put out all the cool content, all the teasers, all the auction information. So definitely go over there if you want to stay up to date on what we're working on.
Awesome. Great. Right. Thanks very much.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Very cool.
Yeah, nice to speak with you guys. All right, have a good one.